firm name, trade name, year of establishment, contact details, etc. ICI's logo is the only logo that can be used. Details of names of the clients and fee charged cannot be given. Then clause 7. Clause 7 says that you cannot advertise professional attainments and services on visiting cards, letterheads, etc. Clause 8 states that it would amount to misconduct if you accept an engagement without communicating with the previous auditor in writing. Clause 9. The auditor cannot accept an appointment without ascertaining whether the requirements of section 139, 140 and 141 of the Companies Act have been fulfilled. Clause 10 says that you cannot charge fees based on percentage of profit or which are contingent upon certain findings. Clause 11. You cannot engage in any other profession or which is not permitted by the council. Clause 12 says that you cannot allow any person who is not a member of ICI or a partner in the firm to sign financial statements on your behalf. That is the end of part 1. Part 2 is for professional misconduct for a CA in service. Clause 1 and 2 are similar to the clauses of 1 and 2 of part 1, and they state that you cannot pay or accept any part of your emoluments as an employee for the employment undertaken with anybody who is not eligible for the same. Then part 3, professional misconduct for a CA in general. Clause 1, if a CA in practice would be guilty of misconduct if not being a fellow of the institute, he acts as such. Clause 2 states that does not supply information which is asked for by ICI, its commit or any of its committees. Then clause 3 says while inviting professional work by any means, if you give information knowing it to be false, that would amount to misconduct. Moving on to part 4, other misconduct for a CA in general. The clause says that if a professional is held guilty by a civil or a criminal court and it is punishable with imprisonment which is less than 6 months, then it would amount to misconduct. Then clause 2, if in the opinion of the council, if the professional brings disrepute to the profession, it may or may not be related to his professional work. Moving on to the second schedule. The second schedule has 3 parts. Part 1, it is for professional misconduct for a CA in practice. Clause 1 says that if he discloses any information obtained in the course of his professional engagement without the consent of the client and if it is not required by law. Clause 2 states that if he certifies or submits in his name report on the financial statements without examining such statements and records. Clause 3, if he permits his name to be used in connection with an estimate of earnings which are contingent upon future transaction and which may lead to a belief that he vouches for the accuracy of such forecast. Clause 4, he expresses clause 4, he expresses opinion on the business in which he or his partner have substantial interest. Clause 5, he fails to disclose facts known and disclosures of which were necessary. Clause 6, if he fails to report material misstatements known to appear in the financial statements which he is concerned in a professional capacity. Clause 7, if he does not exercise due diligence and is grossly negligent in the conduct of his professional duties. Clause 8, if he fails to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit or necessary information for the expression of his opinion. Clause 9, he fails to bring attention to departures from the generally accepted procedures of audit. And clause 10, he fails to keep the money of the client other than the fees or remuneration in a separate bank account. Quickly moving on to part 2, it has 4 clauses. Clause 1, if he contravenes any provisions of this act and the regulations made under it. Clause 2, being an employee of the company or firm, discloses confidential information acquired in the course of his employment. Clause 3 includes any information or statement submitted to the institute, council, or committee, knowing them to be false. Then clause 4 embezzles money received in the professional capacity. And part 3 gives us information about other misconduct. If he is guilty of civil or criminal court for an offense for which, and if for here the punishment exceeds the 6 months of imprisonment. Moving on to council general guidelines. The conduct of the member being an employee, the member shall exercise due diligence and he shall not be negligent in his duties. Maintenance of books of accounts. A member in practice shall maintain proper books of accounts, including cash book and ledger. A member shall not accept in a financial year more than 60 tax audits, and in case of a firm, 60 audit for each partner. A member shall not accept an appointment in case undisputed audit fee of another CA has not been paid. A CA in practice can accept 30 audit assignments, except one-person company and dormant companies, and in case of a firm, 30 audit assignments per partner. A member shall not accept the appointment of a statutory auditor of a public sector undertaking or a government company or a listed company having turnover of 50 crores or more in a year, and he accepts for other services in the same organization, the fees of which exceeds the audit fees. If a member or his relative is indebted to the concern for an amount exceeding rupees 1 lakh, he shall not accept such appointment. A CA has to generate several UDINs for all kinds of certifications, GST and tax audit report, and other audit assurance and attestation functions. And last, to empower the members to accept challenges in the service sector, the council has allowed the member to render management consultancy and other services and hold the office of a managing director, a whole-time director, and a manager. Then know your client. Know your client. There are certain norms which are to be observed by a CA in practice. For an individual client, you have to know their name, their PAN number, Aadhaar number, business description. For a corporate entity, you should also know the company PAN, director, and their information. For a non-corporate entity, the name, address, business description, and all of their copies of the latest audited financial statements are needed for KYC. This KYC helps in ensuring the equitable flow of work among the members, and it enhances the prestige of the profession in the society. Then fundamental principles as per code of ethics, that is integrity, objectivity, professional competency, confidentiality, and professional behavior. And threats we've already discussed in the beginning with the help of the charts that Sir had inserted in my PPT. For this chapter, it is very important for a person to know and quote the clauses correctly, because that is what fetches you marks. You may be able to, when the questions are given, you may be able to identify whether the case study amounts to professional misconduct or no. That can be identified easily, but quoting the clauses also gives you marks. So a lot of people use different mnemonics to remember these clauses in order. I personally do not use any of this. So I invite, if anybody uses such memory tricks to help the class with the same, it would help all of us. Thank you.
So exceptional presentation, Vibha. So that was great coverage in the limited time. And the best part is that you're able to identify the core aspects, because this is a chapter which would take 20 hours, 30 hours, which is even less. But the point is you're able to summarize, break down, and focus on the specific aspects. And more importantly, the way you have explained, I was also listening to you.